All right, we're going to get into, today we're going to talk about God's handiwork. God's handiwork we're going to look at takes a look at the heavens. The heavens declare the glory of God. We're going to look at the seasons and the weather, how God has done that amazingly. We're going to look at nature, flora and fauna, just how much detail he puts into his work. I mean, he is incredible. We're going to look at that today. And we're also going to look at our own self. I am fearfully and wonderfully made by the Creator, by the God of the universe. Man, I'm not just created by some also ran. The man himself created me. So we're going to look at that this week. This is in your one of your things for this week. But this is in Romans 1, 19 through 20, and this is a remarkable verse. So I'm going to read it, and then we'll look through it. This is Romans 1, 19. Since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. We're going to take the opportunity this week, our own self, to look at God's creation. And the challenge is to look at God's creations and see the Creator. You know, it is common for man. A lot of men will look at the creation and worship the creation, don't they? People will worship the sun, worship the moon, worship the stars, worship an animal, worship a human. But what they fail to do, and this is what this verse says, is they fail to see the Creator behind that. But we have many benefits, and we understand there is a Creator behind that, and that's what we want to look at. We want to look at the creation, and in the creation we want to see the Creator. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to take several opportunities to break it down. Your homework this week will be to have dates with God, go on a date with God.
Who's paying?
He's got pretty deep pockets, I think. But it's interesting. It says God's invisible qualities. I mean, if you're an invisible person, invisible being like God, how would you show yourself? And the clues have already been given to you. You know the answers, right? I'll show them by, and he does, this is fantastic. This is good. They'll like this. We're going to get to know it, all right? So let's start here. We're going to start with the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the works of his hands. And this is Psalms 19, 1 through 4. So let me read that. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day, day after day, day after day, they pour forth speech. Night after night after night after night, they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth. Their words to the end of the world. This is a great little passage. Let's break it down. I'm going to go through a couple little things. And again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but this will be this is also in your homework, so you'll get a chance to go back through this. But we're going to look at some passages here. How do the heavens describe God's glory? What is God's glory? If I'm in your way, please don't. What is the? Let me flip the question a little bit. What is the glory of Michael Phelps?
Oh, he was a swimmer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So it's really his power and his sovereignty.
Yeah, his domination of the sport of swimming. When he gets in the pool, he is like a master. It's not his good looks. It's not even his physique. It's what he does, right? If you look at an artist like, and I'm not necessarily, well, let's take a different artist. Let's take I don't know. Since we're on the topic of the Chiefs, let's talk about Taylor Swift, right? What is the glory of Taylor Swift? I mean, she's a creative artist. Okay, okay. Let's do. What about Garth Brooks? All right, we're straying too far here. But if we took an artist, like a Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci or Mozart, the glory of Mozart is what? Beautiful music, just amazing. And every time someone picks it up, they say, wow. Even on a simpler level, the glory of an apple orchard is when it is full of apples, red, juicy apples. It's just so beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. Similarly with God, his handiwork is his glory. People look at his handiwork and they say, God, you are awesome. So the heavens declare the glory of God. Similarly, what God does in us. When God does a work in me and you, when he is able to use me as he wishes, not my own little ways, right? But when I am obedient, when his will is my will, and I'm an extension of him, then he gets the glory, because that is a beautiful picture, right? That's what he wants for us. So we are his glory. Can be. Yeah, Jerry?
Well, the heavens have to declare God's glory because we can't see it. But we bad. So the thought is with that, we have to see the result of his action. And that's where the skies are showing us what, or whatever. So it's like he's painting it, we get to look at it.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to look at him. You can't see him, but what he does is portrayed on everything that's out there.
Yeah.
So if you really want to look at it, as you said earlier, the creation looks great. But think about what the Creator did to get there.
Yeah.
Even though he just spoke it, but he had to have some way to expound upon that, the power just to say it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what when I think of creativity, again, me as a creator, I enjoy the process, thinking through and changing and tweaking. And, if you're drawing or designing something like a house or a sunroom or something, some chicken coop, whatever you're designing, you go through a thought process, and it's kind of like, And I think God does the same thing. I think he did that. He did the 7-day work, but I think he's put a lot of thought into it.
Into everything you think about, just every cell in your body,
Mm-hmm.
like it's
Yeah.
You have to look at it and not think that there couldn't be a God that made something such like that.
Yeah, he is amazing. He put so much thought into it. That's what you'll see, hopefully you'll see throughout the week, is just how much thought and attention to detail, super detail. The heavens declare his glory. And I like this part. Day after day, they pour forth speech. Do the stars speak? I mean, it says it does, but they don't use words. Look at the next. They have no speech. They use no words, and yet they are heard. Can we speak to people without using words? Can you communicate a whole lot without words?
Giving someone a stink eye.
Huh?
Giving someone a stink eye.
Oh yeah, the look. Yeah, I call it the look. Yeah, those communicate. That's worth, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, the look is worth more. I mean, you know, it can make you feel different than you felt before. It can make you know more than you knew before.
Apparently, we've all received it.
But day after day, and I like the other thing that we see here, we'll see with the seasons, is how consistent God is. You know, he continues to speak. Has he been saying the same message for years? Yeah. Do people 10,000 years ago, or not that many, but because Adam wasn't even born then, but you know, 1,000 years ago, did they get the same message? Could they see the same words from God? They could. God is the same yesterday as he is today. And he continues to speak through his work. So you can communicate with, there's a song, even when the words would come out wrong, so I had to tell you I love you in the song. So, you know, words, huh?
Here's the Zombies. That's the name of the group, sorry.
How do you like them but not Taylor Swift?
There you go. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the earth, for the whole world to hear. For the whole world to hear. Now, you put the word "hear" in quotes. One of the nice things, another great thing about the universe, the heavens declaring God's glory. Does everybody have a Bible in the world? No. No. Can you go all over the world and find no Bibles? Yeah. Yeah. Can everybody read words? Does everybody have it in their translation?
Maybe not.
In different times, different places? No. I mean, you know, but yet, God still says, I can tell them my story. Through what? The sun and the moon and the stars and the heavens. And who cannot see that? And let's say, okay, well, a blind man can't move. Nah, but can a blind man also feel the rain? God says, I can show you, I can speak all languages. It doesn't even have to be English or Spanish or the stars declare, or the heavens declare his glory. One of the other things, we'll run through this, the heavens. The other thing that we'll see again and again, here's a consistency, is the variety that God provides. We talk about in the heavens, is there a lot of variety? Yeah, I mean, stars and the sun, and it changes, and the eclipses, and the comets, and just all the things that he's made up there, just like incredible. So a lot of variety. When we go look at the animal kingdom, I'm thinking he had fun there, right? Yeah. You know, okay, so they all have fur, and they all have 4 little feet, mostly, but not all of them. But anyway, but, you know, they're kind of all the same. But yet he says, let me make a rabbit with, like, long ears and a little cottontail. And then I need a giraffe, because that would be kind of cool. And then what about something that's striped like as, you know, again, God, I'm thinking he's just at play. Again, this is also something we want to see, I think, when we look at nature. When you discover who is God, do you see a person at play? Yeah. I mean, because sometimes we can forget that. We can forget that God is full of joy and peace. I think he's playful too. I mean, Jesus was like attractive to the kids. And he said, in fact, if you don't even come as a child, you're not going to see the kingdom of God, because so maybe if you've grown up in a very liturgical church, you don't see God as fun. But maybe if you look at his creation, maybe you do. I would just say spend some time on a date with God and see if that's how you come out. Right? He has a lot of variety, a lot of contrast, and the heavens. Just incredible size. and magnitude. I was thinking speed. You know how fast those comets go? Man, they are fast. How fast these planets are spinning through the universe? Just speed. And the longevity. I mean, they've been there for years. Light years. Hundreds of years. How do the heavens speak without words? A lot of it has to do, they just shine. Which might be a clue for us, right? I think Jesus said something about that. Let your light
Sean.
shine. I think God says we kind of encourage that. Yes. So this week, look at what do the stars tell you about God? And then also, not only what do the stars say, I think what does God say through his stars? I mean, it's two things. What do the stars say? And then what does God say? What does God tell me about himself? That's the key. What is God showing me about himself through his creation? All right? Let's look at something else. Let's look at seasons. I love the rain. Yesterday morning, it was windy. You know, a lot of wind came in and the rain started. And I walked outside and just felt the air, felt the wind, felt the rain. It's like, this is great stuff. Have you done that before? Just like, oh man, walk out in the rain. Not that we've had a lot this year, so you've had to take your opportunities. But I'm just saying, how God made the rain, the wind, how he does all that, that's amazing too. So let's look at the seasons.
Deer hunting, coming out and deer hunting in the evening, I'll see the sky all over
Yeah.
the rain and just all the pretty colors in the sky. It's just like, it's taking in somehow. Yeah.
You forget about hunting, don't you?
No, he still goes out next
Sunset.
So let's look at that. I don't have a perfect passage, but I've got a couple that I'm going to string together here. This is Psalms 147, verses 8 and 9. He covers the sky with clouds. He supplies the earth with rain and makes grass grow on the hills. He provides food for the cattle and for the young ravens when they call. Where's Emily? Who feeds your cows? How expensive is it to feed cows? A lot. Well, God does a lot of it his own self for free. I mean, God takes care of the grass, and then he takes care of the animals who eat the grass, and he takes care of the people who eat the animals and nurture the animals. But he's just thought of everything. He takes care of the earth. He supplies the rain. He makes the grass grow. Oh, who can make a flower? I bet I can't. What's the next verse? Can you? Who sang that? Who doesn't know that song? Oh, who can make a flower? I bet I can't. Can you? Oh, who can make a flower? Only God.
Is this on
It's
Sesame
true.
Street or-
Huh? What? I missed that.
Pass.
Is it a Taylor Swift song? Not yet. Not yet. He sends his command to the earth. His word runs swiftly. Here's that word again, swift. No. I'm teasing. That was unintentional. That's in the Bible, actually.
That's right.
He spreads the snow like wool and scatters the frost like ashes. He hurls down his hail like pebbles. Who can withstand his icy blast? He sends his word and melts them. He stirs up his breezes and the waters flow. That's the same chapter, but it's different verses. And again, it just reiterates how much control God has over the weather. I think he takes as much attention, detail, and care in the way he does the weather as when he does the stars and when he does animals and when he does humans. I think he just says, let's do something here. We'll talk about seasons. So let's talk about seasons. Again, we'll see the word variety. in contrast. What's the purpose for 4 seasons?
It heals the land, makes everything new again,
Yeah,
and renews it.
Gives it rest.
Yep.
gives it rest. So it has a purpose, doesn't it? And I think inside the purpose, he also said, well, let's do something cool. I'll create fall. Who loves fall? I love the fall. I mean, to me, that's my favorite. It's beautiful. I mean, and it comes right after summer when it's a little bit hot, and then it's kind of like the cool weather, the first cool front. I think God takes pleasure in making the seasons. And the other nice testimony that the seasons tell us is God's perfect timing. Can you consistently rely on God? Yeah. Like clockwork. What comes after spring every year?
Fall.
It does. Just a little later.
We're going to go back and start over.
I have to say all 4.
What happens after winter?
Spring.
Fall. No, yes. No, you're right. I was just mocking you. I shouldn't mock. But here's the seasons. When I look at the seasons, I say it shows God's power on full display. Even the thunderstorms and the rain, just amazing how his voice speaks through the weather. It makes a grand statement. And it also reminds me of just how powerful he is. When we look at omnipotence last week, how big are my problems? They look big to me. I'll tell you, when you look at from space, if you were sitting on the moon right now, how big is your problem looking down on the earth? You looking way down there? It's not that much. Can he handle it? Yeah. He can do all. So through nature, through the seasons, through the weather, his power is on display. His faithfulness is on display. Again, after the winter, endure the winter, and then what happens? Spring, new birth, new life, green grass, green trees. It comes back. We can count on that. We can count on him. He is faithful. And then I think he puts his beauty in it. I think he puts his little signature mark, Better than Bob Ross, just has a little squiggly, like, man, this is great. Because if you've created something, you always like to kind of put just a little bit of flair on it. I think they're gonna like this. If you're a singer, maybe you put a little bit of you change the arrangement just a touch. Well, I mean, come on, Jared. If you sing bass, you know that you like to do the words in between the words. Like. When we all get to heaven. But today, that's just a little bit of flair that you like. I think God does that. So again, we want to look at the seasons. What do they tell me about God? Again, our goal is not to worship the seasons. Our goal is to worship who? God. We want to get to know God through his creation. He created his creation, and in that, he put himself. And we can discover, if you really want to learn God, you put on your seeking cap. You say, I'm a seeker. One place you can look. I mean, there's the scriptures for sure. There's the church service for sure. But also in nature, he speaks volumes about who he is. And you might find that there's a little bit more grace on that side than you find in a building, a church. Just saying. All right. You're supposed to say, "Oh," something like that. In his hands, the life of every creature. All right, let's look at this. This is Job 39. Job 39, Job 37, 38, and 39 are in your reading this week. As a great 3 chapters where God just really tells Job a lot. You'll like it. I think you'll like it. It's not driving me. And this is 39. This is God speaking to Job. Is it your wisdom that makes the hawk soar and spread its wings towards the south? Is it at your command that the eagles rise in the heights to the heights and make its nest? It lives on the cliffs, making its home on a distant rocky crag, and from there it hunts its prey, keeping watch with piercing eyes. Its young gulp down blood. Where there's a carcass, there you'll find it. And I just picked this one out. I mean, I didn't find a great, where God had put together for me, conveniently for me, 3 or 4 verses that captured everything I wanted. But I thought, well, let me do this. Let me pick out one animal that I really like. I mean, in Proverbs, he talks about several different ones. He talks about the ostrich even. He talks about the ostrich laying its eggs on the sand. And I'm like, you're living in Israel or something. I mean, how do you know about ostriches? God speaks. But I like birds. I mean, I just like watching birds fly, especially the ones that just soar. You know, just kind of, it's amazing the gift of flight that God has put in these animals. So I picked that one, you know, again, out of all this, otherwise we'll be reading 4 chapters today. But we're just going to do this chapter. How did God design the birds to fly? I mean, there's a lot of structural stuff in that. I mean, that's not easy. And I know it's not easy because if I jump out the window, it won't work for me, I'm pretty sure.
Not for very long.
Not for long. It'll be a short flight. But it's just amazing how they fly and how effortless. God did that.
So
You know?
you're not a part of the slime coming out of the puddle and deciding to fly one day over the You're not following the science.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was funny because, you know, last week when I was looking at we were talking about omnipotence, and I separated the word omnipotence and omnipresence, and omniscience is really 2 words. Omniscience. It's omniscience. So the scientists that we see, they're not omniscientists. They're just ordinary scientists. But God is an omniscientist, right? And they come up with the ooze thing and it'll evolve, and God said, he does that. Come on. Look around, guys. That's what he's saying. And scientists are supposed to look around, and I think they sometimes are blinded as well. But he's talking about that. Is at your command the eagle rises to the heights to make its nest. It lives on the cliffs, making its home on a distant rocky crag, and from there it hunts. You know, the eagles and the hawks and such like that, they also have incredible eyesight.
But eyes like a chicken hawk.
Just even a common chicken has just incredible work that God put into it. I mean, that would be one of the animals you could go visit this week and look at and just say, how incredible you did that, God. Seemingly insignificant animals, God put detail after detail after detail after care. And he says, Jesus says, a sparrow doesn't even fall to the ground without the Father knowing. Does God care about all the little... Man, he's so good. And one of the challenges, one of the targets for this week is to spend a little bit of time looking at different animals. Or trees or something, you know. But even the piercing eyes, I thought, that is a level of, that's a detail, man, that God's put so much care into. And I say, where am I?
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
I don't know if some of you seen that. There's like a video of a hunter that's out hunting, and he had been praying that God would like basically showing his power and his glory. He had just been praying, and it's crazy that this eagle came
Yeah.
and landed on his shoulder.
He actually
Oh,
said,
my.
God, if
He
you're God,
actually
put an
was
eagle
on
on
his
my shoulder.
phone, and he was like trembling and crying and showing you that it was sitting on his shoulder as he was even talking, and he had been out like duck hunting on a pond, you know, and yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Does God care? He certainly does. He cares about that hunter, but he also cares about the animal. I mean, he cares about them. Some are destined for the
Frying pan.
frying pan, yeah. So again, in nature, we see God's variety. I think, again, God likes, and variety is an important lesson for us because we're going to look at humans in a little bit. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Did God make me a little different than everybody else? You know, we're all twisted a little different, right? That applies to me, but it also applies to, we'll call them other people, right? We sometimes can get a little bit harsh with other people because they're not twisted the same way I am, or they're not the way I like them, or whatever. But yet God, He made them. He twisted them just like He wanted. So we're going to also learn to appreciate God in other people. That's a hard one for us sometimes. But the variety that He has in the flora and fauna, and again, I go back to creating a giraffe. Let's do something like that. What about a long neck? What about an elephant? Who thinks of that? God does. Just amazing. God is in the details, and I'll say even insignificant details of let me use air quotes, right? Insignificant details of insignificant animals. Again, when He created a chicken, that's a pretty insignificant animal. But yet He did a lot of work on them. Or you could go mole, or or even a cat. But, God did a lot of work. How do the plants and animals speak without words? Tom, don't read ahead there. Read ahead.
With their beauty, for one thing.
Yeah.
Every flower is different. It doesn't make a difference if they're all roses. They're all different.
Yeah, they just speak, I think, through their beauty. It's kind of like the stars shine. It's the let their light shine. I just do what God created me to do. And when that happens, that's magic. When I am set to where I'm doing what God wants me to do, what He designed me to do, then He does fantastic things. We're going to talk later in the year about gifts, or spiritual gifts. And one of the elements of that is when God can work His gift through you, you will feel His power. You will experience God in a different way than you have before. Because at that point, He's doing through you what He made you for. If He made you, and Doug on Wednesday night a couple weeks ago, used the power tools, the electric saw, electric drill and stuff. When He needs to make a hole, and He can pick up a drill with just the right drill bit, it's just like, anyway. I'm digressing off the path, so I'm going to go back here. But they speak without words. And then I'm going to ask the question: have you ever hugged a tree? And this is just, it's a point of interest. Again, I'm not a tree hugger, but I have hugged a tree. I mean, here's a question.
That's right.
Here's the question.
That's right.
Do you have a favorite tree? I like trees. I do. When one has to be cut down, it's I don't like it. I mean, unless there are some trees, but by and large,
Thorn trees. You cut all them
Thorn trees.
down you want.
I even protect some of those Oklahoma Osage things with the big thorns all over. But I like trees. And there's some trees, I'll drive around the neighborhood and I'll like, that's a beautiful tree. I wish I had. You know what I'm saying? Do you have a favorite tree? God made that. And he didn't just make it overnight. How long did he take to make it? He's been working on that tree. It has a life. It has a history. Now, I know it's not a sentient being that we know of, but God took care with it. And you don't have to hug it, but if you would just look at that tree and think about all the care that God took into it. How many leaves have come and gone on and off that tree? Where are the roots? What do they see? How much care did God take to put in the roots?
You even think about the aspens. I was reading how they're all like connected from the root. It's crazy. They're like the whole group of them, all of their roots are connected.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, and we could also talk mycelium, mushrooms, right? Mushrooms are, the magnificence of God's creation is just great. I'm just going to say that. I'm not a biologist. My wife is a biologist. I'm not a biologist. But it's good stuff. So what does nature tell me about God? Or what can I learn about God? That's the question. In anything I do, what can I learn about God through this? Because we're going to get to storms later on, in a few other stages. What can I learn about God through this storm? Now those are different. But what can I learn about God from nature, from his creation? And then here we go. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. For you created this is Psalms 139. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, and when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. And again, this goes back to planning. Again, I don't know God, and of course, in terms of how much time he needs. But this just says when he was getting ready to make Rick Black 60-something years ago, even before they would come to be, he had spent a lot of time thinking about it. He had put it in the book. He had made me for a purpose. And I'm going to say me, but I'm going to want you to put yourself in there. Right? This is about, again, this week will be time for you to reflect on how God made you. Now, sometimes we can have a low opinion of ourselves, maybe physique-wise or something like that. But it's important that we remember the truth. Satan will say, you're no good, right? Does Satan say that a lot? Oh, yeah. Does he have a lot of ammo to work with?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But more importantly, he convinces me to believe that stuff. God deems us precious. He did before we were born. Did he know what was going to happen to me? Did he know I would sin? Did he know I would be a fall from grace guy? Did he know I would be as ugly as I've been? Not physically.
I was going to say,
That
you
too.
meant personality
Both
wise or
ways,
something.
On all fronts. He knew all of that. And yet, he loved me still. Even the people that were crucifying and mocking him when Jesus was on the cross, did he love them? Had he made them special? Had he, each one of those people, had he knit, handmade, not done in a factory in China, handmade by God. Humans come in a variety of packages. They come in a variety of physiques. They come in a variety of emotional makeup, interest, skill set, negative skills. I got a lot of negative skills. A lot of contrast and complexity. How complex is this body? crazy. This is another thing I want you to spend some time on this week. Just think about, I'll just list off a few, but I'm not a biologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a real medical person. But there is a digestive system that is amazing. How God takes food, it goes in here and tastes great, some of it. For me, 99% of it. But, and then it turns into energy for this body to use, and it separates the good from, it just, it's amazing. When we talk about miracles, that's miraculous. And again, I think God says, I do miracles. Rick, I can do stuff. Jazz hands.
Complex and God is in the details. I don't know if you guys have heard of laminin.
I've heard the name. I don't remember what it is.
Google laminin. It's a protein in the body, and when viewed underneath the microscope, it's very awesome.
See, in laminin, if we looked it up, or even you could take it and say, "Thank you for laminin." I mean, that's a detail. Amino acids or whatever. Again, I don't know all those details, but take them and appreciate them for what the attention God did. But the complexity, I was thinking of. Here's something funny. And now I'm not a cat lover per se, but I have two in the house. But when they want to be fed, is sitting there. We have a little metal can that has a cat food in it. The can is right there. This cat is like inches away from it, but because it doesn't have opposable thumbs, it can't get to the food. I have opposable thumbs. I mean, what a gift! What a gift, or opposable thumbs. God thought of everything, right? God's wisdom is on display. Again, if you want to go through the creation of the human person, God is just so smart. I mean, just so wise to make sure this happens before this and not happen. Just the way he regulates my body function. Spend time thinking about how wonderful you are made. Because again, we go back to Satan can say, "Oh, Rick, you're fat and ugly, and you have bad personality," and again, he can say all these things, and I can say, "Yeah." But yet, at the same time, I can also remember that God made me special, and He put a lot of detail into here. And at 60 years, I'm still going. And I was thinking, what would be a good exercise for this? Well, we could do is I could have you each cut yourself to watch it heal. But no, we're not going to do that. I took that out. So, or hit yourself with a hammer, or just something to show and appreciate the healing qualities that God put in the human body. So we'll just go with imagination from there. Yeah.
And all those things we've already done.
Yeah.
Just remember a time. Yeah.
Right.
God's care and attention to detail. And who cannot hear God? Again, we go back to God speaks to people through the heavens. If you don't have a Bible, if you're raised in Africa in a different language and whatever.
I want to tell you, we got to be friends with some different missionaries from Voice of the Martyrs. He was telling us of how in some of them other countries that he's witnessed. We see God's miraculous healings here sometimes, but sometimes in places where he uses things like that even more so, that are kind of things we read about even in the Bible, but we think, well, that don't happen anymore. He does do those things, and it's just really evident in some of those places where they don't have some of the things that we have, like God's Word. He uses even those things still to draw people to Himself and for His glory. That we think, oh, that don't happen. Well, it does. No.
Yeah, no, too often, and this is one of the benefits of this exercise, is I tend to put God in a little box. I got him figured out. And it's pretty close to the Baptist structure, and in fact, Jesus would probably be a Baptist. No, I'm teasing. I'm saying this sarcastically. But I mean, when Jesus was on the earth, who did he have the most trouble with? Don't answer that. I have to be careful about not putting God in a box.
Yeah.
Because I will do it, like, well, God, I'm looking at, I'm studying the gifts of the Spirit, stuff like that. And there's a lot of little boxes that go around real quick. Well, God does do this, he doesn't do that. Oh, careful, careful. Okay, so, but he's given each of us a body. We can see God there. Okay, so this week, the goal is to spend time focusing on God by looking and watching and paying attention to his creation. That's going to be the heavens and the stars and the heavens and the sun and the moon. It's going to be the weather. It's going to be the seasons. It's going to be animals and trees. Again, what's your favorite tree? I love I could thank God for a tree. I could go, Lord, thank you for this tree. I have had a big tree that I really liked that died. And it was sad. But I can be thankful to God for the trees that are still there. And how big they are and how, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate him through his works. Yeah, so there's that, and then through our own body. So those are the exercises that are going to be there for this week. In fact, I'm going to pass those around. These are the hard copies for week 5. Again, I'm going to send out the link so you can get it on digital if it works better for you, however you want to do it. And if you're missing anything or need anything, let me know. But these are the exercises for this week, the readings, and a couple things to do. And each day, so I'm going to, a couple different things. The links that I'm putting on there, and I would like you to try. I don't know if you've used the New Living Translation. Some people use it, some people don't. Really nice. So I would just encourage you to try the New Living Translation. The links are there. Takes you to a gateway, Bible Gateway, and you can read it in a different version than maybe you're used to. You might see some different nuance, particularly when we're looking at God and his creation, because it's very nice the way it reads. So I'm trying that, rolling out this week, and then going on dates with God, and then worship the Creator, not the creation. So, like, this is an example of what we're going to have, what you're going to look at this week. A couple things. The links are going to be, the links that are in your digital copy will be for New Living Translation, so you can always override that and go to NIV or NASB or King James, whatever you want. But I would experiment with that. Look at it, see if you like it. And the other one, is each day I've got you set up for a date with God. So you're going to go on 7 dates this week. But like for Thursday, I've got on a clear night, and so you might have to do that on a different night. You might look ahead and see if I don't have a clear night or may have to do it again. But go out and look at the stars and take your time. Spend some time. How many stars can you see, and how many can you name? Now, in Psalms 147, it says God knows the number of the stars, and he also knows their names. He is incredible.
If you ever been up a mountain, look like you touch them, and they are all the way there bright.
It is, God's impressive, right? And then what does God say to you through his creation? And this is the most important part, right? It doesn't matter if you can name them or not name them, whatever, he can. He's got that. The important thing is, what is God telling you about himself? As a disciple, we are on a mission of discovery. We want to discover more and more about who God is and what He's like, what He thinks, what He likes. Will I ever uncover everything about God?
Nope.
No, but that's the pathway we're on as a disciple. We spend time with Him, and you can do that in nature. Doesn't have to be just in your scriptures. That is a time for sure. But when you go in nature, when you see people even in the church service, you can thank God for some of the way He made. I do not know why He made that guy that way. But He did. And it might be interesting to think of it like, why? You might learn to appreciate. Again, just spend time with God. That's the challenge. Any questions or thoughts?
If you get tired of hugging the tree, you can come hug a cow.
Hug a cow. There you go. There are cows to be hugged and cows not to be hugged, I'm sure.
Cows that'll hug you.
Cows that will hurt you. That's our goal. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And we don't get there overnight. The way we get to love God with all our heart is we spend time with God. And that's the challenge. That's the goal. That's what these are for, is to help you just kind of focus a little bit on how you can learn to love Him more. Any thoughts or questions?